My wife didn't just cheat on me, she tried to trade up in front of me, right there at the Houston Energy Industry Awards dinner, on Drew Fletcher's arm, like I was some outdated tool she was finally ready to throw in the scrap heap. The funny part? The next day her key didn't work, her cards were dead, and that marketing VP was screaming at his lawyers about regulatory violations that could cost him everything. If you want more stories like this, you know what to do. Here's how it all actually went down. I'm Landon Pierce, 52, Senior Safety Inspector for OSHA with 15 years of oil refinery experience. I don't inspect gas stations or corner shops. I walk through million-dollar facilities where one missed bolt can turn a workday into a funeral. The companies I certify employ thousands. The projects I approve move forward. The ones I flag, they shut down until I say otherwise. Most people don't understand what that means. My wife Isabella sure didn't. She thought I was just another guy in a hard hat filing paperwork. Landon fills out safety reports, she'd tell people at parties, like I was some clerk pushing papers around a desk. She never asked what those reports actually did. Never cared that my signature could halt a $100 million pipeline project with 3 words, safety concerns identified. For years, I let her think small. Kept the peace. Honestly, I didn't need her to understand the weight I carried every day. The only thing I needed was for her to stay loyal. Turns out that was the one thing she couldn't manage. The awards dinner was one of those industry events where executives pat themselves on the back for meeting basic safety standards and call it innovation. Isabella looked beautiful because she always does. Navy dress, pearl earrings, heels that clicked confidence across marble floors. She drew attention wherever we went. I was used to that, didn't mind it. But lately she'd been enjoying that attention a little too. Much. Before we even found our table, her energy shifted. She was laughing too loud at jokes that weren't funny, touching her hair when men talked to her, making comments about how Landon's job is so serious, he never has fun. These weren't new habits, but that night, she sharpened them like she wanted someone to notice the cracks she was creating. Someone did. Drew Fletcher, VP of Strategic Marketing for Lone Star Petroleum. He wasn't supposed to be there either. Marketing guys don't usually show up to safety award dinners, but men like Drew show up wherever cameras might catch them looking important. He was younger than me, louder than necessary, always adjusting his titanium watch to make sure people saw the price tag. He recognized Isabella from somewhere, maybe a networking event, maybe a company barbecue where wives get dragged along to smile and nod. He slid into our conversation like he owned it. Isabella lit up. She introduced him to 3 other couples before. She even remembered I was standing there. That was the first warning bell. By the second hour, she barely stood near me. She kept drifting toward his table, like metal shavings following a magnet. I stayed where I always stay, observing, quiet, analyzing the room, the same way I analyze safety protocols, looking for weak points, noting structural problems before they become catastrophic failures. Isabella was laughing too hard at his stories about marketing campaigns and client dinners. Stories that had nothing to do with actually building anything, creating anything, or keeping anyone safe. Just moving money around and calling it strategy. She leaned in when he talked, touched his arm when she laughed, tilted her head like everything he said was fascinating. I watched her perform the same routine she used to use on me, back when she thought I was worth impressing. The moment it all changed was subtle. Most people would have missed it. After 15 years of watching, for the exact second when normal operations become dangerous, you develop an eye for critical failure points. Drew walked over to my table during dessert, slow and confident, like a supervisor who's never actually worked the floor, but thinks his title makes him smarter than the people who do. He pulled out his Mont Blanc pen, the kind that costs more than most people make in a week, and set it down in front of me like he was signing my termination papers. "Your husband can file his little reports while I take care of your wife," he said, loud enough for me to hear, quiet enough that he thought no one else would. He smiled. She smiled. Her hand slipped into the crook of his arm like it had been practicing. They walked toward the exit together, her heels tapping out a rhythm that said she'd already decided where this night was heading. I didn't follow, didn't argue, didn't ask questions I already knew the answers to. I simply looked at that expensive pen lying on this white tablecloth, then reached into my jacket and pulled out my phone. In my head, one quiet thought surfaced. The safety inspection just got activated. I didn't drive home after the dinner. Home wasn't safe territory anymore, not after watching my wife walk out with another man like I was furniture she'd outgrown. Instead, I drove straight to my office in the industrial district downtown, the place Isabella called Landon's Little Bunker, and never bothered visiting. That night, it became command central for an operation, 15 years in the making. I walked inside, loosened my tie, and powered up the secure workstation I use for sensitive compliance reports. Houston hummed outside the windows, but inside that office, it was quiet enough to hear every keystroke that would reshape 3 lives by morning. People think betrayal hurts most in the moment it happens. They're wrong. The sting isn't in the shock. It's in the confirmation. I'd been watching Isabella pull away for months. Late nights with colleagues. Weekend trips that didn't add up. Cold responses when I asked simple questions about her day. I didn't need her to confess. In my line of work, you learn that systems fail long before the alarms go off. The cracks appear first. The pressure builds slowly. Then one day, something that looked solid just collapses. So 3 months earlier, I did what men in my profession do. I prepared for catastrophic failure. I opened the encrypted folder labeled Contingency Protocols. The prenup was already ironclad, signed 14 years ago when Isabella still pretended to respect my practical thinking. She'd called it cute paperwork and signed it while scrolling through her phone. She thought a prenup was just another form to fill out. She didn't understand that in the hands of someone who builds safety systems for a living, legal documents become architecture. Clause 12. In the event of marital breach of faith, all shared assets revert to primary account holder pending arbitration. Clause 8. Household access protocols may be modified during dispute resolutions periods. Clause 15. All secondary credit lines tied to joint accounts may be suspended for financial security review. She'd signed every word, never read any of it. Next was the home security profile. Most people think smart locks and access codes are just convenient gadgets. They aren't. When you've spent 15 years designing fail-safe protocols for industrial facilities, you apply the same thinking to everything else. I'd integrated our house systems with the legal framework from day one. All I had to do was change Isabella's status from authorized resident to restricted access pending review. At 1:43 a.m., her keycard authorization expired. At 1:45, her digital codes became invalid. At 1:47, her biometric profile was removed from all entry points. That might sound harsh to people who've never had to shut down a facility to prevent explosions. But when someone shows you they're willing to walk away with another man in public, you'd be negligent not to secure your assets immediately. At 2:10 a.m., I opened the banking dashboard. Joint accounts tied to the prenup had always included automatic protection clauses. With 3 keystrokes, everything shifted into the contingency structure. Her access didn't pause. It evaporated. Her secret credit card came next. She thought I didn't know about the spa treatments, the expensive lunches, the ride shares to places she never mentioned. The truth is, every transaction ran through risk monitoring software I'd customized myself. I knew where every dollar went before she finished typing her PIN. By 2:40 a.m., the financial lockdown was complete. Clean, surgical, systematic. No yelling, no broken dishes, no dramatic confrontations. Just safety protocols doing exactly what they were designed to do. The final piece required more finesse. The compliance notification. About Drew Fletcher. I drafted it carefully, professionally, using the same tone I'd use for any legitimate regulatory concern. No accusations, no personal grievances, just facts that would make any risk management team's blood pressure spike. Subject: potential conflict of interest. Strategic Marketing, VP. Drew Fletcher, Regulatory Compliance Review. Required: executive entering personal relationship with spouse of primary OSHA. Inspection contractor creates unavoidable integrity concerns for ongoing safety certifications. Recommend immediate internal review per company ethics policies and federal compliance requirements. It didn't matter whether they'd only spent one night together. In my world, the appearance of impropriety is impropriety. The oil and gas industry doesn't take chances with federal regulators. They can't afford to. By 3:25 a.m., the memo was in Lone Star Petroleum's internal compliance queue. I didn't sign it with my name, didn't need to. The regulatory tracking system knew my authorization codes. When Landon Pierce flags a compliance concern, smart companies pay attention immediately. I leaned back in my chair, listening to the soft hum of climate control systems. Most men would have been shaking with rage. I wasn't. Rage is loud and sloppy. Preparation is quiet and precise, and quiet always wins. At 4:02 a.m., my phone pinged. All security updates complete. House secured, accounts protected, compliance review initiated with high priority status. I closed the laptop and sat in the silence of that office, one truth settling in like a final calculation. Violence is for men who don't understand regulations. I'd spent my entire career understanding regulations. By sunrise, 3 people would learn what that actually meant. Isabella came home the next afternoon wearing the same navy dress she'd left in, only now it looked wrinkled, like a costume that had been worn too long by the wrong person. Her hair was flat on one side, her makeup smudged in ways that had nothing to do with Houston humidity. She expected to find me waiting inside like some wounded husband, pacing the kitchen, desperate for explanations she had no intention of giving. She always underestimated how much of me she'd never actually understood. I watched everything from the security cameras on my phone. At 12:14 p.m., her rideshare pulled into our driveway. She stepped out slowly, checking her reflection in the car window like she was preparing for a performance. Then she walked to the front gate with the confidence of a woman who believed yesterday's decisions wouldn't have today's consequences. She typed her code into the smart lock. The system blinked red. She frowned, typed it again, harder this time, like force would override programming. Red again. She pulled out her phone to use the backup app. 1 swipe, 2 taps, and a pop-up she'd never seen before. Access restricted. Contact property manager for authorization. She stared at the screen like it had personally insulted her. Then she wiped the phone against her dress like the problem was dust, not consequences. I watched her mouth move. What the hell? She tried the backup keycard next. The reader flashed blue, then immediately red. She stepped back, confused, looking around like a neighbor might pop out and explain that the system was malfunctioning. Instead, her eyes landed on the small metal sign I had installed early that morning. Property access restricted pending legal review. Contact legal representative. She stared at it for 7 full seconds. I counted. Then she knocked on the door. 3 sharp raps meant to convey annoyance, not desperation. When nothing happened, she knocked again. Longer, louder, waiting for the house to apologize. She called my number, straight to voicemail, called again, voicemail again. She tilted her head like she couldn't understand why technology wasn't cooperating with her expectations. That's when the pacing started. Slow circles at first, then faster, checking her phone, checking the lock, checking the keypad like performing the same actions repeatedly would change the outcome. At 12:32 p.m., she tried the back gate. I'd predicted that too. Same result. Same metal sign, same confusion turning into the first real edges of panic. She wasn't ready to believe it yet, not until the bank. At 12:55 p.m., she tried her debit card at the ATM 4 blocks away. Something the street camera caught in perfect detail. Insert card. Enter PIN. Red message. Temporarily unavailable. Contact financial institution. She tried her credit card. Same message. She slapped the machine like it had personally betrayed her. Then she stormed into the bank. I didn't need cameras for what happened next. The automated logs told the whole story. She approached the teller too fast, talking too loud. I could picture it perfectly. The fake smile stretched tight, the hair flip she used. As intimidation, the rising pitch that came when she felt control slipping away. After a few minutes, the teller called the branch manager. That conversation lasted 11 minutes. When she walked out, her breathing was shallow, one hand gripping her purse strap like it was the only thing keeping her from falling apart. I knew exactly what they'd told her. Your accounts have been suspended pending structural review. Joint assets have been transferred according to prenuptial protocols. These changes were authorized under agreements you signed in 2017. She'd signed them. She just never bothered reading what she was agreeing to. At 1:43 p.m., she came back to the house. This time, she didn't knock or call. She just stood at the gate staring like willpower alone might override security programming. I watched from the camera feed as she paced again, slower now, more deliberate. Her shoulders sank, her arms crossed tight against her chest. Her whole posture looked smaller. Not fragile, just deflated. She tried calling Drew next, her upgrade, her better option. The marketing VP who tossed his Mont Blanc pen on my table like he was signing a contract. The call rang 3 times. No answer. She stared at her phone like the number had malfunctioned. Called again. Straight to voicemail. Again, voicemail. She started texting. 1 message, 2, 3 in rapid succession. Her thumb hovered over the screen. Then she typed something longer, deleted it, typed again, sent it. No response. She wasn't just locked out of the house anymore. She was locked out of the life she thought she was stepping into. At 2:07 p.m., she sank down on the front steps and put her head in her hands. I watched the top of her hair shake, not from crying, but from breathing too fast. The early rhythm of panic. People think panic starts with gasping. It doesn't. It starts with silence. She sat there long enough for the sun to shift, long enough for the cameras to auto-adjust twice, long enough for me to know that the illusion she'd lived in for years had finally cracked. She wasn't ready for the fall, but the fall was already in motion. By late afternoon, whatever confidence she had left started crumbling into actual fear. I could pinpoint the exact moment she realized her marketing VP wasn't going to rescue her from the consequences of last night's decisions. The call came at 4:26 p.m., a phone buzz caught by the audio pickup on the front gate camera. She grabbed her phone so fast she nearly dropped it. The screen lit up with his name, Drew Fletcher. Her knight in shining titanium watch, her ticket to a better life. She answered before the second ring. Drew? His voice cut through the speaker, sharp and panicked, stripped of every ounce of arrogance he'd worn the night before. What the hell did you get me into? Her whole posture changed. She straightened, smoothing her wrinkled dress like he could see her through the phone line. What? What are you talking about? Your husband, he spat. Do you understand who he actually is? She blinked, genuinely confused. He's a safety inspector. He's not just a safety inspector. Drew's voice cracked. I got a notice today. My compliance officer got a notice. My board got copies. They opened an internal investigation on me. Ethics violation. Conflict of interest with federal regulatory contractors. Her eyebrows pulled together. Investigation? For what? For you, he snapped. For last night. For being with the wife of an OSHA inspection officer under contract with my company. Do you have any idea how this looks? I could lose my position, my stock options, my federal clearance. Federal clearance? What are you... Stop, he cut her off. You think I didn't look him up after the memo landed on my desk at 10 a.m.? Landon Pierce isn't some background guy with a clipboard. He's the primary safety certification officer for half the major petroleum operations in Texas. His signature is on our federal compliance reports, and now I look compromised. She made a sound between a laugh and a gasp. No, you're overreacting. He already did, Drew barked. Everything was filed before we even left the dinner. You were with me and he had documentation ready. What kind of man prepares something like that, unless he already knew what was coming? The line went quiet except for her shallow breathing. Drew, please, just call them, clear it up. Tell them nothing happened. Tell them what? He interrupted. That I compromised federal regulatory relationships because you wanted attention at an industry dinner? That I risked company compliance because your marriage was boring? She swallowed hard. It was one night that's going to cost me everything I've worked for, he said. I can't be seen talking to you anymore. Lose this number. The call ended. She stared at her phone like it had short-circuited. She tried calling back. The number was disconnected. I don't know what broke first, her pride or her hope. But something inside her collapsed in that moment. She stood slowly, brushed the dirt off her dress, and walked toward the street with mechanical steps like she didn't belong anywhere. She spent the next hour searching my name online. I know because the metadata pinged my monitoring systems. Public searches can't reach secure profiles, but I can see every attempt. She found the articles, the industry interviews, the citation in Petroleum Safety Quarterly calling me the architect of comprehensive regulatory compliance frameworks, the conference panels where I'd spoken about systematic risk management, the advisory positions with federal agencies, the Safety Innovation Award from 2023. All of it had been there the whole time. She'd just never cared enough to look. I wasn't angry about that anymore. The absence of curiosity is just the first sign of someone who's already mentally left the relationship. At 6:12 p.m., her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. 7 p.m., Meridian Club, formal dress required. She stared at it like a lifeline thrown into a storm. She didn't question it, didn't stop to think. She wanted to believe I was reaching out. She needed to believe the door she'd slammed shut could somehow still open. She caught a rideshare to her sister's house, grabbed a black cocktail dress from the closet, fixed her makeup in a mirror she barely looked into, and called another car. She arrived at the Meridian Club at 6:53 p.m. The building was glass and steel with valet parking and doormen who knew which names belonged on which lists. The kind of place where deals get signed in private dining rooms and photos don't end up on social media. The doorman checked his tablet, frowned, and looked her up and down. "Ma'am, you're not on tonight's guest list." She forced a smile. "My husband, Landon Pierce, is inside. He invited me." Before the doorman could respond, my voice carried from the private dining room. "Thank you, Shane. She won't be joining us tonight." She turned sharply, scanning for a tone she used to control. I stood at the head of a long mahogany table, surrounded by people she'd never met. Federal compliance officers, regional OSHA directors, petroleum industry safety coordinators, people who didn't need to be impressed because they already held the real power. She took a half step forward. "You texted me." "No," I said calmly. "I didn't." She blinked, embarrassed and angry and lost. "Then who?" I nodded to security. "Please escort Mrs. Pierce out. This table is for people who didn't gamble with federal regulatory relationships." She looked at me like she expected regret, hesitation, maybe traces of the love she'd taken for granted. I looked back at her like I was reviewing a failed safety inspection. With professional detachment and zero emotional investment. Security walked her to the door without touching her. Professional, quiet, final. She asked one last question, her voice cracking. "Did you bring me here just to humiliate me?" "No," I said. "You did that yourself last night." Then I turned back to the table and resumed the meeting about new federal compliance standards that would affect every major petroleum operation in the state. She stood on the sidewalk for a long time, clutching her phone while warm light from the club's windows reflected off the glass like a world she could see but would never enter again. That night, she checked into a roadside motel off Highway 45, the kind with flickering neon signs and carpet that looked permanently stained. Not the sort of place she was used to, but her options had become severely limited. Her cards weren't working, her phone battery was dying, and the marketing VP she'd tried to trade me for had cut her off the moment federal regulators started asking questions. At 10:06 p.m., the knock came. 3 professional taps. A courier in a gray uniform holding a manila envelope addressed to Isabella Pierce. Inside, divorce papers. Clean, comprehensive, ironclad. Filed that afternoon, ready for signature. No alimony, no claim to the house, no access to accounts. Just a clean separation from a marriage she'd already abandoned. At the bottom, typed in red ink, signature required within 48 hours. Failure to respond constitutes acceptance per Clause 18. She sat on the motel bed staring at pages of legal language she'd never bothered learning to read. The same kind of language she'd signed 14 years ago, without a second thought. Eventually, she walked to the payphone outside and dialed my number. It rang twice before I picked up. I didn't say hello, just waited. "I didn't know," she whispered, "about any of it. Who you really are, what you built, what you could do." Silence, stretched between us. "I know you didn't," I said quietly. "Then why? Why was everything ready before I even left the dinner?" "Because you didn't leave last night, Isabella. You left months ago. Last night you just finally walked away." Her breath caught. "I made a mistake." "No, a mistake is something you do once. You made a choice. You chose to believe that what I do doesn't matter. You chose to think that loud confidence is more valuable than quiet competence. You chose to walk away with another man because you thought I was too boring to stop you. The phone was quiet except for her breathing. Is this it? She asked. Are we finished? I looked out the window of my office at the lights of Houston's industrial district. Refineries and chemical plants stretching to the horizon, all of them operating under safety standards I'd helped write. We were finished, I said, the day you decided I wasn't enough. I paused. Yesterday I just made it official. I hung up, not in anger, not in victory, just because there was nothing left to say. She stood under that flickering motel sign for a long time after the dial tone ended, holding the receiver like it might somehow reconnect her to a life she'd thrown away. It didn't. Eventually, she walked back to her room, sat at the small desk, and signed the divorce papers with shaking hands. No tears, no tantrums, just quiet acceptance of consequences she'd signed up for long before she ever met Drew Fletcher. The next morning, I received confirmation that the papers had been filed. Isabella Pierce was no longer my legal responsibility. Drew Fletcher had been placed on administrative leave pending a full compliance review that would likely cost him his career in petroleum marketing. And I was exactly where I'd always been, in my office, reviewing safety reports, ensuring that multi-million-dollar operations ran according to the standards I'd spent 15 years perfecting. The difference was that now I could focus on work that mattered without pretending my personal life was something worth protecting. 3 weeks later, I heard through industry contacts that Drew Fletcher had been terminated from Lone Star Petroleum. Something about integrity concerns and failure to maintain appropriate professional boundaries. His federal clearance was revoked. Word travels fast in a small industry, and word was that he'd become unemployable in Texas oil and gas. Isabella moved back in with her sister. I know because the divorce settlement required a forwarding address. She took a job at a retail boutique, the kind of place where her social skills and appearance would still matter, but where the consequences of poor judgment couldn't destroy anyone's livelihood. I kept the house, of course, and the accounts, and the respect of colleagues who understood that integrity isn't just a word you put in company mission statements. Most people would expect me to feel triumphant, or vindicated, or at least satisfied that justice had been served. I didn't feel any of those things. I felt quiet, the same kind of quiet I'd always preferred, but now it was mine completely. No one was mocking it, no one was trying to change it, no one was walking away because they thought loud was automatically better. Violence is for men who don't understand regulations. I'd spent my entire career understanding regulations better than anyone in the state, and when someone finally pushed far enough to activate those regulations, the system responded exactly as it was designed to. Efficiently, systematically, completely. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I received an industry award for Excellence in Regulatory Compliance and Safety Innovation. The ceremony was held at the same hotel where the Energy Industry Awards dinner had taken place. Some of the same people were there, including a few who remembered the night when Isabella Pierce had walked out with Drew Fletcher. No one mentioned it, of course, professional courtesy. But I saw the recognition in their eyes, the quiet respect that comes when people understand they're looking at someone who plays a longer game than most. I accepted the award with the same calm I brought to every aspect of my work. I thanked the committee, shook hands with colleagues, and drove home to a house that was finally, completely, peacefully mine. The Mont Blanc pen Drew Fletcher had left on my table that night was still in my desk drawer. I kept it as a reminder, not of the betrayal, but of the moment when someone underestimated what quiet competence could accomplish when properly motivated. Sometimes the best safety systems are the ones no one sees coming until it's too late to avoid the consequences. If you want more stories like this, you know what to do.